Hi, I am calling to order the Playground Working Group meeting of the Darien Parks and Recreation Commission. This is our regular meeting, Thursday, June 9th at 8:45. That's 2022. Sorry, guys. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is approval of all previous minutes. I'm not sure we can do that. Do we need a quorum for that? Or should we just push that to the next meeting? Okay, because there are only 4 of us. Or maybe there's gonna be one more. But anyway, let's go on to, I guess, discuss various types of equipment that Mike Stankina emailed to us from Game Time. Anyway, let's start that. Do you guys have any thoughts on the materials he sent us?
I wish that I'm hoping that the rest of, or some of the moms with young kids can join us, because I absolutely defer to them on the use, since they're the ones who are on it all the time.
Yeah, I think what's happening, Patty, is that I know Ruth got back to us, but this is the last 2 weeks of school and parents are so inundated. I think people with preschool children have them now because they usually end about a week early, at least, than regular school. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's why we're not seeing their face, you know,
Sure. Yeah. I just meant in terms of, I'm not gonna really opine on, you know, what kids like the most. I'm gonna just, for me personally, I'm gonna take it in and do listen to them, and then do the research. You know, I've gone to other parks, and then we, you know, go through it with all of us and decide what makes sense and where we want to bid on it. Go ahead, Pam.
Yeah. So I think the most important part, quite honestly, was the sketches, because there are the equipment can vary from 1 to 1,000. There's so much equipment out there, but the spacing of what we have, that square that we're working with, I think it's just really important to see what we can fit in there. And I also made sure that Mike gave us 2 examples. One was the example of the 2 to 12. So you have one large piece of equipment that can accommodate 2 years old to 12 years old, right? And then I thought to myself, I think this group needs to have both scenarios, because 2 years old playing on the same equipment as the 12 years old is it can be a challenge. So therefore, let's consider the 2 to 5 off to the side, and the 5 to 12 in the same area off to a separate area, because then it's up to the parents, as we know it, to, you know, keep their 2-year-old on the smaller equipment. So do we want to mix it? I think that's one of the biggest questions we want to address, is whether we want to put a 2 to 12 unit or split the age groups and keep it separate.
Agreed.
I agree, Pam. The other thing I wanted to, if possible, just because I think it's nice to see it on paper, but I think it would be great if we did the staking at the park and see where everything kind of lands, to kind of get a relative feel for it, because I feel like when it's like this is so one-dimensional, like this just feels very flat. And I think that if we can get everybody, even if we get, you know, if we'll try to our best to accommodate all the parents to the playground and just like look at it, just, you know, put stakes down, look at if it was too separate, how separate is it? I guess I'm kind of ambivalent about, you know, keeping them separate, because kids play up here, as you know, and then, you know, that parents get all, oh, you know, so it's kind of hard. I think that's something definitely for our parents that have children now, you know, what the new current way that kids are playing, to find out if they are staying separate or if they want to be together. Because I think a lot of the parents have kids that span age groups. So if they do keep it separate, then it's a challenge too. You know what I mean? To keep eyeballs in different places. But Ruth is here, so thank God you're here, Ruth. I want to hear from you.
I can jump in on that, Susan. I just look back at the Cherry Lawn one, where they're 2 complete separate, and my now 3-year-old, but when he was like a year and a half, he wanted to be with his sister on the other one. So I sometimes, and then she wants to be in the younger one, right? So it's like, I find that it's hard when they are 2 separate units, because they always want to be with each other and they always want to do Like I was watching Baker the other day because every time I run it, I just always put my eyes back on it. And there's a little toddlers. Now that's supposed to be, I think, a 5 to 7 unit, that the one that's in there right now. I mean, 5 to 12. They're all toddlers playing on that equipment. So you have the little guys playing on the big equipment to begin with. So that's just my 2 cents. Is I think a unit that's allows a bigger unit that allows the growth of all of them would be appropriate.
That's great feedback. Actually, really awesome feedback. And it just seems like if we have a unit like that, maybe the fall zones, there wouldn't be overlapping fall zones. So in theory, there would be more options to play for both groups then. Is that?
Yeah, they can kind of like share and cross. Well, my other question was with what I saw on those samples that I was looking at, all the ones that were sent. So they're great, such great ideas, and they're all kind of look at them and you're like, oh, those look awesome. But I guess I was a little confused because I thought we were trying to make this one a little bit more handicapped accessible, and I didn't know if those equipment frames that we were looking at allowed for that, and I didn't know. I didn't know if that one, if we were trying to aim towards McWane being more of the compliant one, if those equipment devices worked well for that population.
ADA accessibility, all those pieces that you see that Mike sent are all accessible. Unfortunately, accessibility is very minute. It means that they can get from their car to the unit. You know, there's some areas where they can play from a wheelchair or something like that. But it does, if you were going full ADA, you'd need triple the space, because they would need ramps to be able to get up with a wheelchair. So this is accessible and it's compliant, but there's very few things that they can do. They can get to the equipment. There's a few things that they can touch. They can, but to get on it, I think there's a landing zone that they could possibly, get off a wheelchair. And there's so many different aspects of ADA too, correct? So it's not just wheelchairs. But it does accommodate.
The paperwork, the Marble Pass, if we do the 2 to 12, it has ratings, it looks like. And I mean, it just has these numbers that don't really, like you were saying, I'm not sure what they mean in terms of the kids that have access to it. It'd be great to get Curtis to look at this, especially if we decide that this is
right.
The other thing that I noticed is that we do have room for an additional equipment, and I would love that for that to be, if we can't give the accessibility on the main unit, something that we can definitely say, we have to make this accessible. I mean, we talked about music, we talked about a lot of different things, I guess, but if we can get Mike to give us a good piece of equipment that we can have everybody using, I'd really like to see that. I think the swings, definitely, we're gonna have some accessibility, right? But if the Marble Pass, if that's what we go with, doesn't have enough, I think it behooves us to put that space that he has marked on the plan about open for additional equipment.
Agreed. And I would say with the swings, the way he laid those out, were those for what, I'm sorry, because I don't know the proper word, regular use versus the swing that Curtis talked to us and showed us pictures of that he had at his home.
I don't know that Mike had access to that information when Curtis was saying that. I'm not sure. But I do think that the bay, as we know it now at McGuan, there's one bay that holds the ADA swing, and then there's another bay that holds the other swings. By the way, we did switch out that tandem and put a belt swing in, and we'll at McGuan right now, but that ADA swing completely needs to be obviously changed. But that will be our goal, to keep one ADA swing set in that bay.
Excellent.
And I think just from an overall perspective, it would be great to have Curtis's sort of understanding of would there be an expectation that would there be more than just a swing from an ADA perspective? I think
right.
I think that would be a great understanding for us to have. Like, what is enough.
Oh, somebody's mic is really, okay, that's better. Yeah, and I think you have to think of, like, for instance, I think I can speak for, a general statement that when we think of ADA, we think of a wheelchair, which is not generally everything. But so if they roll up, what else is there to do besides gaining access? Is there a panel where you do tic-tac-toe, right? Is there music that you can play? Is there those type of things? So I think you're right. Getting Curtis's perspective would be great.
And I
And
would love to know, sorry, one more question about the merry-go-round thing that they sent. I was wondering if those could have like seatbelts installed, because if that's something that we could adapt.
It says it's designed, you can use an optional 5-point harness that's not included, but I guess we could include that, like, obviously.
Oh, good, okay.
I was looking
Those
at
merry-go-rounds.
if that's would someone that's in a wheelchair, would they be able to get and use that if there was a 5-point harness that we just talked about? Like, maybe if their parents put them in, right?
Well, there are merry-go-rounds that do have ADA accessibility. I don't think that's one of them, but there are separate units that do that. And of course, now I can remember when we were young, they were so flippin' fast. Now they're so slow. So they don't, the risk behind those merry-go-rounds is very, very little at this point. But I don't think that particular one is ADA accessible, but there are ones that are.
Maybe we could ask Mike to look at that too, is if we can get another unit that maybe that where the harness is part of it, no matter what, so that younger children, if parents don't feel secure putting their kids in it, we can have them be able to use it. I'm laughing because I see that it says 8 children fit on it and there's 4 seats. So I guess kids are just hanging off of it or something.
yeah.
Well, it's in between, right? They're the seats and then there's the bucket in between, right? So they're actually.
Put your butt, and do you put your legs inside, or how does that work? Do you know? Yeah.
I've seen them go sideways. Yeah, they fit on there. They go back to back. It's actually pretty cool watching them.
Yeah, no, it's just, obviously this is before I'm in the old style metal ones that were pretty crickety, I guess. Anyway, awesome. Okay, let's just go back to Mike with that question. So about whether we can get an ADA merry-go-round. Also about that additional equipment, if it could be something that we can make sure it's extremely accessible to all people with all abilities. Pam, I think that would help a lot. And also, I think the next meeting, we should have it be in person. If we're like kind of on the final stages of thinking about stuff, is taking things out, right, guys? And just reinforcing that we want to go for a one age group. I mean, one section for the age group at McGuan. I think that would be really helpful.
So Susan, if we do it in person, are you recommending we actually do it on site in person?
I think so. Yeah, exactly. On site. I'm sorry. On the site of, just because I feel like if we're at the final stages of making a decision, I'd like to see it staked out, and see how it's being used. And then hopefully we'll have clarity about whether we can make it even more accessible for everybody. And also if he has a sense right then about the budget, how we lay out with the pour and play, I want to make sure, sorry. So if we can, oh my God, sorry. I'm so not used to having the fax machine in my.
What's your comment, Pam?
So what I think is critical moving forward is that we need to be able to distinguish how we're going to move forward with the companies. So I believe, and I have to make sure I confirm this, that Game Time is on a state bid. So we could choose them without going through the bidding process, like many other companies are as well. But if we go through the bidding process, then that's what we need to write in the bid. We wouldn't be just going back to Mike. Mike has he's been given an opportunity to speak with our group, which is a really good thing because he got his foot in the door, got to welcome him. We know him now. He's given us some examples. It's a good company. I've worked with them before. We have equipment in our parks currently now that are Game Time, but we need to decide how we're going to move forward. So if we choose to do a bid to open it up to other companies, we would state in the bid that we have $175,000. We would like to see some ADA accessibility. We would like to see it a 2 to 12-year-old unit. We would like to have a swing set, a bay that has ADA swings as well as regular swings, and multiple others. So that's where we need to go at this point. So we can't just talk about Mike and Game Time. We need to figure out whether we're going to choose him based on a state bid or we're going to open it up to other companies.
Pam, did you get any sense from the selectmen that, I don't recall ARPA money, kind of forcing us to go through the bid process, but did you get any sense that there'd be additional scrutiny as a result and they would want us to go through the bidding process? I'm not pushing for that at all. I was just asking if you felt any pressure or had, Monica or Jay-Z or anybody say anything.
I don't think that just because it's ARPA money, I think we still have to follow the same rules. And we have a choice here because there are companies that are on the state bid. For example, with the tennis courts that we're doing at Cherry Lawn, the company that I chose goes through Sourcewell, which is already a pre-bidding state. So I don't have to go out to bid. So there's a really great sense there. We've already used them for the basketball court. I think they did a great job. So I'm happy with that. I've done my homework. I'm good with that. But, and as I said, Game Time is a great company. I've used them before too, but I kind of like personally the idea, even though it's more work for me, is to go out to bid because then we can have companies give us their best layout of what we're looking for. And then this group gets to choose. So we give them the diameters, we give them the scope of work, what we're looking for. And I think these companies will give us the best that they can possibly give us in this area, and then we choose. I personally kind of like that.
Oh yeah,
Can I say something?
Sorry.
I was just going to say, sorry, I'm raising my hand and y'all can't see me. Sorry, Susan. I am usually always for the bidding process, as you know, Pam, because I think exactly that. We get to see pricing, we get to see margins, we get to see, visuals for that. I do also think we have to keep in mind that as a town government, we are really, for lack of a better word, required to take the lowest bid unless they're not hitting all of the requirements that we put in the bid. So it could be somebody that comes in and, could be some new company comes in, lowballs it, and we don't know their success rate or you know what I'm saying with this versus we know Game Time, and I have no affiliation to Game Time. That's my only concern. But if you feel like Kate and Board of Selectmen will allow, because I mean that's a requirement. We have to take the lowest bid, right, Pam? Unless
we are not required. Because in the sense that we'd still have to do a background. I'd still have to call all different referrals and make sure that the company is legit and people are happy with them.
Understand that, but if they show, okay, we have insurance, we have that. But if we know somebody else will do a superior job, and we would rather pay a little bit more to get the superior job versus not, I just think with our kids, that would be my concern. But as long as if you feel that we'll have enough flexibility there, you're the expert in the bidding process.
I think that Game Time is a great company. Don't get me wrong. That's why I chose him to speak with us. I've always had great success with him. And
how many other companies do you think? Can you give us some names of other companies you think would bid on it?
Oh yeah. There's Emmy O'Brien, Emmy O'Brien is the one that did Weed Beach. There's Burke Playground, which is huge. There is Game Time. There is Compan, which Compan we have at Cherry Lawn as well. As Cherry Lawn's mixed units, Game Time, Emmy O'Brien, and Compan.
Compan. Pam, before you guys go any further, I think I agree. I'm okay with either, but I think the purpose of what we were trying to do is just to kind of narrow it down and be able to create a bid, a really specific bid for these companies or any company to work with, because right now we don't have the expertise to know what the design requirements are in terms of spacing. So I think Mike was awesome at that. And I think the committee needs to fine tune what our needs are before we go out to a bidding process, or even to go back to Mike. That's why I'm trying to get as much feedback, especially from our the parents with young children, to see what we're looking for in our space there. So yes, I'm okay with either, but definitely let's fine tune what we're thinking about first before we, talk about the next step.
I agree.
So you just had your hand up. I didn't mean to jump in, so you can go.
It's okay. I was going to ask the same thing. I also wanted to know what you did when you did Weed Beach, whether you went out to bid or whether you chose just one vendor. I think that would be helpful for all of us.
Sure. For Weed Beach, what we did was we did the research at the front end. So we went and visited all the playgrounds from all the different companies. We did O'Brien, I think you mentioned, and Compan. So we looked at the all these playgrounds all over the Fairfield County area, decided which ones we like the best. We kind of had our kids play on them, kind of what we're asking our members to do. And then we went back and said, hey, we're going to go with you. These are our thoughts. Like we said, we really wanted to do, we had a theme for Weed Beach, which was the nautical theme, which is why in the front you have that climb instructor that's kind of like a ship. And then we have the lighthouse. So we gave them that feedback, and they then designed it. And then we got the, the estimate, and then we fundraised for it. And so everything was kind of in place, but we didn't have money at that point. So we were like scrambling around looking for, and that was during one of the recessions. So it was like a lot of fun to raise money. Anyway, so we're in a different position here. So, so that's why I think it's so important to kind of figure out what our needs are first.
Yes. And
what we're thinking we want it to look like, what it should be feeling like. And then it's a little different because, with I guess with McGuan, we don't have that, oh, we want it to be nautical or da-da-da. You know what I mean? We're kind of pretty open to stuff. We just want to make sure the equipment's appropriate for, I think our big emphasis with McGuan is that it be accessible, really accessible for all ages and for the amount of volume. And I think the surfacing is so key to that whole location also. So these are kind of two big-ish considerations. So anyway.
And there was also a pipe somebody talked about, so we should double back and check with Ed on the piping. I know Pam said, no, it's always been dry there. But just based on the amount of rain we got between 2 and 5 a.m. this morning, right? I'm going to swing by there later today and look at it. We just, because that will come into play, because the Port and Play is we think, it feels like is the great surface, but we just want to have a feel for how that would handle if it gets wet there, or if there needs to be something.
Patty, that it was porous though. It's not like an asphalt surface. There is some ability for water to go through, I thought. Did you guys get that info when we had one of our meetings with one of our playground reps, Pam?
I thought they said the same thing, but that's to your point of just, doubling back and confirming.
Oh, no. I just want to make sure that we were clear on that too, that it's not as like, it's not like asphalt. There's porous. It's a porous surface. So that's good to know.
So if are we asking Mike from Game Time to come and stake that out for us, or are we doing it, Pam?
Either or. I mean, I would love to have Mike there only because then he can maybe answer any follow-up questions we might have about any equipment that we're thinking of finalizing. That's just my thought. I mean, it's up to him. He doesn't have to come, but I would think that if he has a high chance of getting this, even if we go to bid, I'd like to have him there to just make sure, there's no lack of there's no confusion and things like that. I mean, he did that for us when we went to Cherry Lawn and did those 2 added features, right, Pam?
Yeah.
And he'll have his catalog. We could look at what he's thinking about, things like that.
He would be more than happy because obviously he's a sales rep and he wants the job. So he's gonna
Yeah.
put his best foot forward.
No obligation, like we'll say to him, we might have to go to bid. We're not 100% sure, but we're really trying to fine tune what we want.
He knows that. I've been very transparent with him about
Yes.
not
So
certain
can I
where
ask
we're
a
going with it.
question? Can I ask a question on the agenda? So, you know, basically we're on light item 4, discuss and vote on bidding process for McGuan. When you put vote on bidding process, did you mean just to decide whether we're going to open it up to a bid or go strictly with a government thing? And I mean, just because it's on the agenda doesn't mean we need to vote on it.
Correct. I just
Okay.
wanted to, I want to get,
In case we decide to vote on it. That's the problem, Patty. Because if we
Yeah.
decide to vote on it and do that
No, I
now,
understand. I'm just confirming that we're not, I'm getting the feeling that we're deciding not to vote on it today. I'm just doing this for the notes.
Oh, yeah.
We're discussing. Okay. Thank
Oh,
you.
no. So let's get you back up to date. Just joined us, Lisa. Hi. We looked at, I don't know if you had a chance to look at all
you're on mute,
the.
you're on mute, Alyssa.
Oh, we have, I don't know if you were able to look at the 2 layouts that were sent by Pam. There was one that had 2 separate sections for the kids of different ages, and one that's one big 2 to 12 unit. And, you know, luckily Ruth weighed in pretty well on which direction we were all thinking about going. But if you have any thoughts about whether having 2 separate units versus one big unit, that would help this process. Also, we thought that the accessibility wasn't that we wanted to make sure there was enough accessibility for everybody. We still can't hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Is that okay now? Okay. I mean, personally with my kids, I don't have kids that are as young as 2. But I know that even when they were younger, they didn't seem to, keeping them from one side or the other side didn't matter. So it's not like you're going to have the big kids who are going to stay off the small area and the small kids who are going to stay off the big area. And I feel like by having to create that kind of a divide, it limits us.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just what just what I've seen with my children. If there's a playground and there are things to do, whether they're 2 or they're 12, they're going to go wherever they want to, and you're not going to be able to stop them. So that's just what I've seen with my own kids and their friends. So if being able to do it as one large group opens up our options to be able to do a nice larger layout, then I would feel that that's probably a better, especially with a place like McGann where we have limited space.
And the reason I wanted to add that in, Alyssa, I totally agree with you. I mean, my kids are 22 and 23 now. I don't think about that, but at the same time,
someday.
the 5 to 12, the one thing I thought could limit us or this area, if we did one, was maybe doubling down on the 5 to 12 because we're adding in the 2, 3, 4, so that maybe you wouldn't do something a little bit more exciting for the older group because we're adding in the 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. So that's where I felt we really need to figure that out, because I do think there are equipment and there are playscapes that have high towers and they're really exciting. But then when you think about that 2-year-old, you know, kind of their slow gait trying to get to a certain thing, and then that wild 7-year-old rushing by and knocking one over. That's where I was trying to get my head through that, because you do want something exciting, in my opinion. You know, in terms, something fun and you know, challenging and high. And so that's where I felt we really need to get through that 2 different areas of, yes, they're always going to join it, but then that's the parents' decision.
One thing I'll add on that, Pam, was like the zip line or those bars where you climb up like a rope. It looks like a rope ladder that goes like across like a grid. I feel like those are exciting for some of the older kids, and the little kids physically can't do it without, like, it's just as a mom, I know my little guy can't do the zip line because he physically can't get there, but yet the 5-year-old or can, right? So like some of the things that are just out of reach, because I agree with you, those tall towers, I get nervous with my little guy at the top, not knowing where he is. You can't see him. But if there's a few different little sections where there might be something like, I know the little guy can do the bottom and she could do the top or something like that. So maybe that's how we can incorporate the exciting things for them. That's not necessarily the height, but a different challenge.
I think that's a good
Yeah, I
idea.
think that those are just the big decisions that this group needs to make.
That sounds like, these are great questions. And I think that we should I think having a site visit is a good going on site is the next step, the logical step, and to have it laid out and to have some of these questions answered. I was just looking at the equipment that Mike offered, and he gave us the sheets on, and the windward, which is for the 5 to 12, is really high. The fall height is 8 feet. So, and obviously the kids can get to it even if you're 2. So that would be a concern, is that is a huge height difference, than the other equipment, which is I think 5 feet. Anyway, so I think there's a lot of questions, and I would like to, and given that we only have 2 of our parents that have the younger children here, I think it's really important to get more input from them, and maybe being on site would be another way to do that. I mean, maybe some will even bring their children. We can watch them play, because school's going to be out soon, and so it'll be perfect. So it won't be a formal meeting per se, more like for us to just get a feel for what we're looking at and how we want the kids to use the equipment. If that's okay with everybody, I just feel like that's the only way we do. Oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Our next formal meeting is the 30th of June, which is that week of, a lot of people are going away, I think for July 4th. So I don't know if we want to do it the week before.
I'm open to that. I agree, because I think you're right. People are trying to bridge those holidays now to make it a longer one, and I'd be happy to do that. The sooner the better anyway for us. And since we don't have any prep work for that meeting, we're just going to use information we already have in place, and hopefully Mike will give us more options with the ADA swings, with another unit, with the merry-go-round. Hope if you can get that to us in the next week or so, we can then have a very informed meeting. But that's a great suggestion, Kathy. Appreciate that.
Can I read what, I'm sorry, can I read what Sarah Baldwin just texted me? Because I know she was bummed she couldn't make this meeting, so I had asked her feedback.
Okay.
She said, "Good morning. My personal experience with little ones in playgrounds," and remember, she's got 4 kind of ranging in age, including twin 1.5-year-olds. And then they go up from there. My personal experience with little ones in playgrounds is that unless they are in separate sections, like Cherry, the little ones will always try to go to the big kids stuff. This is a really small, and then she's talking about McGuan. This is a really small playground. So personally, the idea is to maximize for 2 to 12 and let the really young go to swings. And there should be at least 1 bucket swing along with the Gen swing. And the Gen swing is what Curtis recommended. With all that being said, she doesn't go to that playground. So moms who do might totally disagree with me. I just worry we squeeze too much in and everyone is bored no matter what the age. Sorry to miss it. We'll catch up later. So that's her feedback.
Thank you.
I know we're going to throw out a date, but I think I'm going to just throw out the suggestion that maybe instead of us just throwing out a date, Pam follows up. I mean, we throw out a few potential dates, and then maybe Pam, you could send an email following up and seeing, if you don't mind doing that, by the way. Seeing, I mean, we can do it, but seeing if that works, because we need Curtis there, right? And we want Sarah there, and obviously Alyssa and Ruth and Devin, if she can be too.
I don't need to be present to have a meeting, but I am away June 22nd to the 28th. I need
Yay, you deserve it.
Take vacation before I lose it. So, but again, this committee can exist and go on without me there. So that's not an issue. So you guys will need to make that decision.
Well, I mean, I know nobody's pushing us on a time frame. It's a crowded time. I mean, as evidenced by the RTM meeting on Monday, where we almost didn't have a quorum because there were so many activities going on. And we have the June 27th meeting for the Great Island, and we're even, we're hoping we're going to have people, but that's, school is just ending, the RTM meeting, and so do we? I don't know, let's throw out some dates, and if we can't meet in the next 2 weeks, then, I mean, we don't have a deadline like the schools where we're trying to bond something. That's all I meant, where we had to do it we had to vote on something by a certain day. Your thoughts, y'all?
The only thing if we go too far, August is dead because of, obviously everybody goes away. And I just don't want to go too far past June into July, because then we lose people, and we are going to lose one or two that are going to have those longer vacations that they have to they're taking with their COVID post-COVID vacation. So I think we're going to have to try our best. I mean, but I agree, like someone like Curtis, I'd like to see him there, but if for some reason his work doesn't allow it, like if we have it, maybe if we could do a staking, or if we could or we could do him virtual if we can, and walk around and show him what the layout is. I just think that he should be included, because he is representing a certain audience that we want to reach for sure. But at the end of the day, we just need to I would like to see some movement, because I think it's going to take a long the pour and play, all that takes time, and I just want to make sure that that's going to need to be replaced, because then it's going to become a safety issue, and then we're going to be like, oh, we're still thinking about it, and I don't want that to be the case. Go ahead, Pam.
So yeah, I was at McGuan yesterday and spoke to some parents there that were using the equipment, and they were absolutely thrilled to know that we were considering doing new equipment here. And one of the biggest thing was shade. They were very happy about the trees that we put in there, but of course those trees are not mature, and they're not going to be mature for a long time. But to also look at some shading, like we've done at Weed Beach, actually put a couple of shades above the equipment. So we got to keep that in mind too. And I agree with you, Susan. I think you should move, regardless of anybody's vacation times. I think we should keep this going. And, if we can have a small quorum, just keep these meetings going. If we can get something on site in June, I think that would be great.
I'm texting Curtis right now to see if when his availability is. I'm not sure I'll be able to hear back from him before we're done, but.
Just going back to your thing about heat, Pam, I mean, that surface is now black. We're going with something that's going to be non-black, which will be very much better for the heat piece, because that's basically a big, I don't know. Oof. I just can't imagine how hot it gets at this, and it is coming apart in addition. So I think I'm not rushing to do something. I just want to what happens is, once we make a decision, it's still a long process to get it installed and all that bidding, if we do bidding and da-da-da. So the sooner we get our piece done, the sooner we can hopefully get that process. And not to say we can't make changes, it's just that we got to have something to bring back to the vendors with, right? So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, we're also facing the fact those housing units are going to be open soon, and those kids need a place to go who are going to live there.
We don't actually know that there's going to be kids there, you guys. I know we all are assuming that, but they're small unit at Federal Realty. For all the talk of all the units that are coming in, they are smaller units, 1 bedrooms as such. There may be a few 2 bedrooms. I think it's studios and 1 bedrooms, maybe a few 2, but we'll see. They're just starting to lease it now, but I hear you. And that's why we made it a priority, Kathy, right? Because of the pulling up of the squares and because of all these units coming in. Well, Susan, your call. Do you want to throw out some dates, or?
Why don't we, why don't we just set the date a week before, that we said, and then let's see what we hear from. Like if Pam, if you don't mind sending out our proposed date, which is the week before we were supposed to meet, and let's make sure Curtis and the parents can make it. And if it becomes like, oh, nobody's going to be able to come, or we can't do this, do you have a question? Or you have your hand up?
No, I just wanted to say I'm going to be away at the same time Pam is away. I'm away June 24th to the 28th, which obviously you could do without me, but I just figured I would just throw that out there so you know. And I don't know what kind of, we're going to be in Lake Placid, kind of in the woods. So I don't know if I would be able to do something remotely.
No, you know what, why don't we just throw it out there and see, because I don't want to, like, we need to have something to say no to or say yes to. So.
But do you want to do it before that then? Do we want to try it? I know that Curtis is going out to Lake Tahoe.
Why don't we do dates, one after and one before, and see how many people can go to each one? Hey, sorry.
My only suggestion was, I work in Greenwich, so I physically can't be there, if it's an
Saturday.
inside, unless we did an evening. But I'm happy to look at it through, or like go on my own, but I'm at my office, so I'm not able to be there.
But, you know,
I
what
think we should look on a weekend day.
you
Oh, well,
guys-
Pam, I'm sorry, Pam, that cuts you
Well,
out.
Pam can come anyway, so we already lost her at that point. So sorry, Pam, but that's true. So why don't we pick, if I'm okay with either, to be honest with you, I'm here around on weekends too, especially in July and June. So why don't we pick, if people want to do like a weekend morning, and that way we get it done, and if anybody has any other commitments, it's in, but the question is whether Mike would be willing to meet with us. So that's something to consider. So why don't we pick a weekend day and just keep that day that we're thinking about? Which weekend day would be good for people? Like,
Because we have the 30th is the next regular scheduled meeting that's, posted.
yes.
So we have that still. So either we're going to keep that and then look at different dates beyond that.
Want to go beyond that? So you're thinking,
How much time do we need to get the plan tonight to be?
you say it again, Kathy?
How much time does Pam need to get us the additional information that we just requested? So
Pam, it wouldn't take that long, right? I mean, if you want to go, what, are you thinking about doing it the week of the 16th instead, Kathy, or something else, or weekend day before July 4th?
I think once we hit the after school ends, I think we're going to hit everyone's vacation. All of us will
That's
start
true.
away at some
No,
point.
you're right. So you're thinking maybe like a June, okay,
June
graduation.
18th, Saturday, June 18th?
I can do that if people are free. I mean, it's the day after school ends, so hopefully people are still around. Why don't we shoot for that? Do the morning of June 18th. And
I'm only going to step in because I was the one that said I couldn't do dinner. I have a wedding in New Jersey that day. But I am off July 1st. I don't know if that's a Friday. I don't know if everyone's away already for the long weekend.
yeah, we already gave away up our 30th date, so July
So
1st.
if you guys pick the morning, I can try my hardest to reschedule my client and push things back. I just typically go right from now. I have a client that I see at 9:45 that I struggle with, but like just reschedule. But if that's the only day, you guys pick it and I'll try my hardest to make it work on my end from a work perspective.
Or we could consider Friday, June 17th. It's a Friday if we did it in the morning, Ruth. I don't know if you start work at 9, right? I know you have to drive wherever you're going to. If we did it early. And then people can, that you folks with little ones have little kids, we could watch them like climb on things.
We want you to climb on things, in fact.
Yep.
So should we just shoot for June 17th morning if we can, and see if Mike can come to that too? Pam? See, because
Okay.
on
Mike is
Mike.
working, is that correct, Pam? They're
Speaking.
on. The public, Mike is
Right.
working? Okay.
Right.
Okay, so
Yeah,
let's,
the kids won't be able to come on the 17th though, because they're still in school.
oh, okay,
Oh, they
I can
are?
bring
Yeah,
my
the
little guys.
17th is the last day of school.
Oh, that's
I
a big
can
day
bring
for you
girls.
guys then.
So they have,
Personally,
so it's
I'm personally thinking we should just keep our regular scheduled 30th. It seems like, that's what everyone's kind of planning. Is there any reason why we're rushing to do next week?
I
No,
think the
we
issue was that we thought I will be away the 30th, and it's fine if you guys go ahead without me. That's no reason. I'll be in Florida. But I think that the thought was once we hit the 30th and beyond, we're going to get people going away. So
But I'm hearing Pam has gone June 22nd to the 28th. Alyssa's gone June 24th to the 28th. So both of you guys are back. I'm here. Ruth, are you here on that date?
I'm working that day, but I'll try to come in late that day.
But if we went early in the morning, the June
Yeah.
30th? Okay,
I'll make-
Susan Daly, are you here?
Okay, so keeping our regular meeting, but making it 8:30, you're saying? Like keeping it at 8:30, everything. Why don't we do that? I'm sorry, Kathy. Just so that we can get this moving. Is that okay with you?
No problem. I'd rather everyone go.
Yeah, and that way we can, if we can get you in on video or FaceTime or whatever we have, the technology.
FaceTime you, Kathy.
Yeah, I will try. My
Yeah,
mom's
I'm just saying if we want to, I could record it and send you the pic, like I could send pictures to you. How's that?
That'd
Or,
be great.
or video. I
Yeah,
can do that. And that way can, if you opine out, at a later date. So why don't we do that, guys? Sorry, that took a lot longer than we thought, but sometimes that's how.
It's okay. What time were we talking about on the 30th?
We typically have our meetings around, 8:45, 8:30. So
8:45 is
Okay.
scheduled.
Alyssa,
we can-
does
So
that
I
work?
can get there if I can see if my husband can work from home that day, but if not, I'll just have to be there late because I have one kid I drop off at camp at 8:30 and the other one I drop off at another place at 9.
okay. I'm sure it's
So,
gonna
but
take us
I'll
a
see
while
if I
to
can.
set up, so I wouldn't worry
Yeah.
about it. Sounds fine.
So either I'll definitely be there. I may be late, but if I can get my husband to be home and do the drop offs, then I'll be there on time.
But Ruth,
Okay.
how does that timing work for you?
I'll make it work. It's okay. I can get there I'll be there. You tell me the time and it's my last day of work.
45. Let's stick with the same time.
I'll make it
8:45.
work.
Thank you. So can we go on to the next item on the agenda? I think we've already touched on it a bunch of times about the bidding process. Pam, can you find out do we need to do the bidding, all that stuff that we just talked about? If you can get the details on that, from the town, like if we decide we can go with this, direct method, can we do that?
Yes, I'm doing that with the tennis courts. I'm choosing Sports Tech, who we use for the basketball court, because they go through Sourcewell, which they've already done the bidding process through that group. So if they're on a Connecticut State bidding process group, we don't have to do the regular bidding process. They've already done it.
So then, PM O'Brien, who was, we also, that O'Brien is on it too, on that bidding process.
I believe Emmy O'Brien is as well, yes.
Maybe, do you think it's worthwhile to kind of say, hey, we're doing this, we're not sure how we're going to do the bidding process? I mean, I don't mean to be like, I hope it's not like a bad boyfriend cheating on whatever, but I just think that maybe it is helpful to get another look on something if we're not sure.
Yeah.
And then we could still do the direct bid process, but we have two people that we're looking at. And, it's interesting.
We can get quotes. I mean, I can call Emmy O'Brien. I know who the rep is and say, look, we have this going on. Give us your best outlook. What would you do?
Why don't we do, I mean, I'm seeing more equipment just for our argument's sake and, different designs, even colors.
Yes.
Because what do you guys think? Is that crazy? I mean, I just feel like,
The more I think about it, I mean, these people will have the opportunity. They know how to bid too, right? So if they want it, they can come in at the right number. So as long as you feel confident, we're not going to have to go to a low bid, less good playmaker, then I think it would be interesting to get multiple bids. If you feel confident about, Sportswell or, Sports Tech or not Sports Tech. What did you say? You just
Sourcewell.
Sourcewell is the consortium that they go through. Is that
Correct.
right? Okay. If you feel confident that both Game Tech and Susan, what was the company you just said?
O'Brien.
And O'Brien.
And Emmy O'Brien.
O'Brien. Yeah, because what we could do is we don't have to then go to a formal bidding process. We're getting pre-bids kind of on people, and then you can go direct with your source, it'll be faster in the end. That's what I'm trying to say. And we as a committee can then look at the equipment, get an idea, feel for it. I think it'll accelerate the process. That's what I'm trying to say.
It will.
So why don't we do that? I don't want to do the straight out bid process because there's all that, timing that you need to allow between all these things. And this way we can get first looks and choose what we want and talk to the vendor directly and kind of have that interaction with the design and stuff like that.
And
you
the
think it-
difference here, this is that we already know the number we can spend and we're not spending over it. So
Yes,
either they're gonna hit that bid or below it, or if they go over, they're tossed, because we can't do that.
Exactly. Okay, so why don't we do that, Pam, is if you don't mind getting.
I will reach out to Emmy O'Brien, he's the one who did the big globe at Cherry Lawn.
Yeah,
And
but
I will ask,
that was a miss, right? So that was a miss. Everybody's saying it was too, I mean, it's cool, but everybody's saying it's too heavy. And you
it is
said
too
that,
heavy. It is too
Pardon?
heavy, but here, this is my take on that. It was a product that we looked at. One other globe was in the state, and I called that particular company, or it's actually a hospital that had it out in their grounds. They loved it. Nobody ever said anything about the weight of it. We were only the second one in the state to get it. New product.
but he needed to be able to tell us that even 3 moms can't push it together. So that would be, I'm just saying that would be my concern, but I mean, it's not like we're giving him the bid. He can
No,
be,
that's-
That's a
you can
different type
talk to
of
both.
equipment, I mean, that we're thinking about for this, like, except for the merry-go-round, everything's gonna be just structure. So,
Yeah.
so less movement, more, like, we use them at Wheat Beach. It's just to be instructive, like you said, but I do agree, we feel a little let down by that piece of equipment. So I do have that. Maybe he's willing to come back and figure out if he could fix it for us. That'd be awesome if we give him.
I've already brought him back. Originally, before anybody even said anything about it, I was like, the thing is so hard to push. But anyhow, I don't think
Let's
that
just get 3 if we can, like get 2 more if you can. And, we have the size parameters. You can show, tell them what we're thinking about and see what they come up with. It'll just be
Yes.
interesting to see what creative.
I will have him give us a quote on what the best possible thing thinks he can do with his company on that site.
With the
Thank you.
pour, because Mike said to us that he could do that whole space with pour and play, right? So just to keep that in mind,
And he
right?
said that
Yes.
within the budget, right?
Yes,
It's in
Okay,
the notes.
so we're getting close to our time, and I know people need to go off to work. We really appreciate that. So I think we're not going to hit number 5 with playground reports, but I think that we can push that to maybe you could even discuss it at our in-person if people have feedback at our in-person. But it sounds like you have a couple of things we need you to do, Pam. So with Mike and then also additional vendors. We're good, right? Or do we have something else?
Well, that means that our next meeting on the 30th, if it's in person, it'll have to become a special meeting because we don't have that as an in-person meeting on our regular agenda.
Okay.
So it'll be special.
Yeah, and we can invite public if public wants to come and look about what we're talking, even friends or people you guys know, feel free to invite them. I mean, it's okay. It's an open public meeting. We're always welcome to have people join us. Is
And
that
I
okay?
would say
Great.
not to put playground reports for that. Let's just take that off, and
I'm
that can
just
be.
saying it's more like informal. If people feel
Yeah.
like they have something to report. I wasn't saying. to
I
do it.
think we're focused on McGuan, so it's not a bad thing to have our focus.
Okay,
Yes.
that sounds great. We could discuss if people have experiences from other playground that might fit for McGuan. Feel free to input, but we're not doing formal. Got it. No problem. Okay. Thank you so much, Pam. Thank you, ladies, for being so
Thank you,
patient.
Pam.
Thanks,
And-
Susan. Thanks, Pam, and everybody. Good meeting.
Yep.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
And Patty,
Just to confirm, Pam, you're going to send out that we'd like to do that June. We're going to do the next meeting June 30th, 8:30 in person. And if you can say to everyone today, could you please let us know if that date works? And then I've texted Curtis already. And then I can text Sarah. And I don't know who knows Devin. It was Ruth who knows Devin well, right?
Yeah, and our typical meeting, our regular scheduled meeting is 8:45. So that's what I was going to, that on.
Oh, yeah, 8:45, sorry, yeah.
Yep. So I will put it out to the group and see who can attend or who can't attend, but that's what, that's the
Great. That
strive
works.
for us.
that's great. And Patty,
the
I'll let you know. What's that? I was just going to tell Patty and I have been trying to meet at Royal to kind of take a look at some of the things there. But between my kids' schedules and sickness and COVID, and we wound up with another one with COVID. But I'm going to try to go tomorrow. I'll let you know. The little one is now home with a fever today. So, which is
No
why you've
rush,
seen her walking back and
wait
forth.
till they're better.
But
No
if we're
rush.
there tomorrow, my son has soccer anyway at 5:15. So if we're there and if she's feeling better, then I'll text you and let you know if we're there, or I'll just take some videos and some pictures and I'll make some comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Awesome.
All right. Have a
Thanks,
great
great
day.
meeting y'all. Have a good day. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.